all y'all are having a blessed day. It was a stunningly beautiful day here on the mountain. Today is Sunday, July 2nd. So happy and prosperous 4th for you all. It was a beautiful day all day, but now I see and hear thunder rumbling around the mountains. I do hope you have a safe 4th, and that if you are blowing off fireworks, that you do so safely with a supply of water just in case a fire starts. And as with any explosive, please know where it's going to land before you shoot it off, and make sure that it doesn't land on somebody's house or in somebody's dry hayfield, because they could lose everything. We are here today with our next little project, and it is a new pattern that I will have available for sale in my coffee shop. I am calling it Dizzy Duck March, and it is a slightly modified version of the block I did for the stuffed potato chips. I called it Dizzy Ducks. And I modified it a wee bit, but here is the sample block. It is a paper pieced block, and it will turn into be 8-inch finished, so 8.5 unfinished. And I also wanted to remind you all that I have lots of things available for sale in my coffee shop. And I do have a subscription club there with several tiers. And in fact, here's Rolly, and he is bird number 4, and he was just launched on the 1st. So please do go check that out. I also invite you to join me on Discord. We have a server over there called 70 Acre Studio, and I'm getting to know several of you, and I'd love to get to know more of you. I'd love to see what kind of projects you're doing. If you're doing any of my patterns, I'd love to see what you came up with. So let me turn the camera around and we will get started. I need to make 3 more blocks because this quilt, and I will insert a photo of the sample quilt that I made in EQ on the screen now, but I do want to let you know that I will be putting the quilt together 4 blocks each. So this will be 1 block, and then I will be making 3 more, and they will get rotated like this around the center, and so they'll be in blocks of 4. And they will end up being 8-inch finished, so 16-inch for the 4x4, and so 32, and I'm thinking of doing 3 groups of 4. You'll see on the pattern that it comes out to be 48-inch square if you add no borders. I'm not sure if I'm going to add borders yet or not. Again, the one critical thing that I did want to tell you, it's thinner here than it is here. So the side triangles, they are not equilateral triangles. They are not, square. One side is going to be longer, and I have that marked on the pattern to let you know, and you just have to be aware of that. On the pattern, I mention where to sew. So this is too large for an 8.5 by 11-inch piece of paper. So I had to break this unit up into 2, but I give you instructions on where to sew that. And the triangles, I also tell you, I have templates that you can use. They are right here. And it tells you where to sew them, what side to sew them, so that you will end up with a square block. Now I need to make 3 more of these, but first thing I'm going to do is I am going to use my tracing wheel, and I'm going to mark the lines to make it easy to fold. And we are having a thunderstorm, and we're getting a good dose of rain. Thunderstorms are pretty common here in the summer because of the way the air circulates around the mountains. And yes, it is absolutely pouring it. And if you don't know what this is called a pattern tracing wheel, and it's used to make little tiny holes along your pattern lines to make them easy to fold. I don't know if you can see them here or not. Let's see. You can kind of see them, but it just gives you something to fold. It folds really nicely for you. If you do not have a tracing wheel and you would like to get one, I have a link for this down in the description. I have links to Amazon where I have items that I use all the time. So if I use it and I think it's of good value, then you will find it down below in the description. So now it's a good idea to pre-fold all the lines for you. That way you are good to go. Oh, I do love me a good thunderstorm. Here's another tip for you. What I've done is I've taken about 9-inch squares of my background fabric, and I cut them, and then I cut them down the diagonal so they are large enough to be used for this. And again, just make sure that you put your pattern or on this fabric, put it on there, put some pins in it, and then line it up with these points. That way you know that they will fit, because remember, these are not interchangeable. Wow, it is absolutely pouring. I have a whole pile of scraps over here, and I am using up some of these Riley Blake jelly rolls. They're all light colors, so I'm using those up. And those are going here, the little side triangles. And this is quite large, and you want the first piece to be right side up. And you're going to use your bright light that you have next to your machine, and you're just going to make sure that this piece covers everywhere. And now we need very tiny triangles for the sides here, and they have to go right side down. And I'm going to fold them up and just make sure that they cover everything. So I'm lining up this spot here and going up about 1/4 of an inch. And now we just go over to the sewing machine, and you can overshoot these lines a wee bit, not a problem. Okay, and now we're going to fold this back. Nope. And if you tear your pattern, do not panic. All you have to do is get a piece of Scotch tape and you can fix it. And no one will ever know, okay? No one will ever know.
Now back to your regularly scheduled program.
And I'm going to trim it, guesstimate, and do a test fold. And that covers everything. So we slip it under the machine and sew. And I think I have a link to this thing also. It is a seam roller. So I fold this back and I use my add a 1/4. There's also a link to this. And I trim that off and I fold that and fold it down on the line, and we trim this. And I trim it now because I find it helps me in lining up the next piece. So this has to go like that. That should work. Fold that back and trim it. And yes, my nails are a mess. I'm going to start doing my nails on my own because I wasn't happy with how they were being done, and I'm waiting for my supplies to arrive. All right, so that is trimmed. So I know that I need to come up to this dotted line for the next triangle. I like that, and I think that will cover, right? Yeah, that will cover. And hopefully we can use the other half on another piece. I'm going to trim this off. All right, so there is our next triangle. And now we need pieces of white. And I just guesstimate. And so far it has been working for me. That will certainly cover. We will trim off the seam allowance. That will cover. So once you get into a rhythm, it goes relatively quickly. Okay, that piece will cover. Oh yeah, that more than covers. Here we go. it does help to have a good light. And then you can just flip this under until it is equal with the point on the previous triangle, and then let it flip over. And then just for insurance, scooch it down just a hair. And that should be enough to cover this line of stitching and the triangle. Okay, I'm going to trim that. A lot of people don't trim the seams yet. They wait until these are sewn, but I find that if I trim them now for this piece, it helps me figure out how much I need for that piece there. Okay, that covers. Okay, and now we need to do this piece. Okay, and the sides you don't have to use a ruler if you don't want. If you think you can cut a straight line, cut it. Now we need another triangle, and this one comes up to this spot here. How about this piece? Let's see. Okay, there's that. There we go. Now we have to make 2 more. I can't lie. I do like me a good thunderstorm, and I also appreciate a good thunderstorm on the 4th of July because people like to shoot off fireworks. And if they come onto your property and your property is dry, you can start a fire. That's not good. Considering I have 50 acres of forest, I appreciate some rain, so thank you, Jesus. Okay, my apologies. The camera froze on me. So this is where we are. I have finished this whole piece. Okay, it looks like that. And now I have this piece left to put on. And I'm just holding it up to the light so I can see where the corners are. And if you notice, there's corners are nipped off. So cut those out because that helps you line things up. Okay, I think that's got it. There is the last piece, and this does not get any side triangles. So we can just cut it just outside the seam allowance here. All right, there is the center piece. I have my side pieces, and sew to C1 goes over here, and sew to D1, so this goes over here, okay, because they are not reversible. So if you sew it together like this, you're not going to have a square. It will be odd. And that did take me quite a while to wrap my head around that. So what I'm doing is I am taking my triangle, right sides together, okay, and I'm going to take some pins and I'm going to poke through the corner on this piece and then pick up this piece here, and I can tell that the corner is right here at this juncture, and it is. So you just do that and you just leave it dangle. And now you're just gonna leave that in there for now and not think any more about it. And you're gonna take the pin and go through that point, and then you're going to go right through the point on the back. And now you know your piece is lined up. Now that it's lined up and the edges are aligned, I'm going to take a couple more pins and just pin down below here because I know it's not going to move. And now we can take that out and just stick it over here. This is about the only time I'll use pins. And now we're just gonna sew down the seam line here. And I'm close enough to the seam, so that's good. Take the pins out, and now we can take our larger ruler here and trim down this seam line here. And fold it back up. And then obviously you'll trim it along here. And I even tell you on the pattern piece, that this is the long edge. So we're going to do the same thing for the other side, and then we're going to take it over to the iron and we're going to press it really good, probably with some Mary Ellen's Best Press, and we will have a finished block, and that will wrap things up. I just wanted to jump back in here and let you know, when you go to square this up, this happens to be an 8.5 inch ruler, and I bought this in a set of, I think, 5, and again the link is down below. What you want is you want a square ruler that has the center line. So when you go to square this up, you want to make sure that this corner is square and that the diagonal line is right in this corner, and that the diagonal line hits the corner here, okay? And then trim it down. Everything else is useless, okay? Everything else is stuff you don't need. All right, and now I'm going to rotate, and once again I'm going to make sure that that is right in the corner, and that is, you can't use the tips of these triangles, of these ducks, because they're dizzy. They're not marching straight. There we have it. So that is our finished block. Here is its brother sitting right here, and these will go together, units of 4. So you'll have these 2 and then 2 more that are rotated, and they will make this cute little star in the middle, and then at the other end you'll have a 4-piece diamond. So where the other pieces meet, they will meet together like this. So you'll have 4 of these together, and this will kind of make points for a star. This will not make a star, but you'll have kind of a star. You'll have this little 4-point thing here. But that is the basics of the entire quilt. My quilt requires 36 blocks, so you'll need to print out pages 2 and 3 of the pattern 36 times. There is the block, and I really like it. I like the movement. I like that the ducks are not in a row correctly, that they are a little tipsy. And I think it makes a very striking quilt. Again, I have inserted the picture of the quilt, and I can stick it in here again, okay? And you'll be able to see it kind of makes a woven pattern, and it undulates because this strip is wider at one end. I think it's a great use of scraps. If you are really low on scraps, you can even piece these triangles together, and it looks really nice. And it will be available by the time this video launches. The pattern will be up and available on my website. And I'd like to remind you that if you are in my top tiers, if you are in Top Rooster, Phoenix, or Guardian Angel Club, you will get 20% off everything in my shop. And as far as borders on the sample in the pattern, I did a 2-inch black border on the outside, and then I picked a striped fabric for a second border. You can forego that and just use the striped fabric as your binding. I really love to use stripes in binding. I think it just gives the quilt a lot of pow. You can do something like adding machine tape. I have a video of that available on my quilting playlist. That really makes a fantastic border. So I want to thank you all so very, very much for joining me today. And I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you'll give this project a try. I hope you'll consider coffee and Discord. And I hope you have a very, very blessed day, a very, very blessed week ahead. And I will see you right back here at 70 Acre Studio with our next project coming very, very soon. And we also have one more final stuffed potato chip block that we're doing. I've got the pattern all ready to go, so that will be coming out soon as well, and I hope you give that a try. Thank you all for joining me so very much. I love you all very, very much. God bless.
Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy.